Other people have tried it, and not been
Yeah.
better people than you.
Well, I wrote Sarah a note and asked her to improve some of the instructions because there were steps that when you do this, you just know
Yeah,
that weren't there.
you got the service leader.
Oh, Lord, no.
I am.
You are.
No puns intended.
I thought Jim Black here.
He's sick.
He's ill.
Oh, that's too
He's
bad.
had a very, very bad cold.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, he thought that it was COVID, but he tested negative.
His wife had it not too long ago.
Did she?
Okay, you guys are on TV.
Oh, no. Did it really?
I don't believe you. It's not on here, so if it's not on
Oh, it
here-
doesn't count?
Okay, because really, we should not be
I'm sorry, you're on internet.
we should not be talking like that on me. You know,
You're right.
we gotta be careful.
There's a sign on the cart, but it's often not read. No, I hadn't read it this
Are
time.
you the speaker this morning?
I am
Oh, what are you gonna tell us?
talking about disabilities today.
Oh, yeah, I know. Carol's got all kinds of healing songs. Listen to the song she's playing. There's a bomb in Iliad.
Oh,
You
nice.
know, you know that one?
I don't
It has a,
That's an old one.
that's an old one.
During
Two
the office.
hymns on healing.
Oh, nice.
She always picks healing songs. Well, songs like when we had one on racial things.
Dave,
She did
are these,
spirituals and stuff.
are these, if I moved them,
No, it's not a problem. You know,
Disabilities.
when we get to talk back, we can move stuff around.
What
So
kind of?
just
what kind
doesn't
of
matter.
disabilities?
Whatever's comfy.
I have 5.
You have
So-
5.
Yep, I have PTSD, which I have 100% rating from the VA. I have Ehlers-Danlos, which is a tissue connectivity disorder, which my daughter also has.
Is that like profiles?
Hypermobility and faulty collagen. So I've had both my feet fused. I'll need a double hip replacement in about 8 to 10 years.
I think you qualify.
I have
Every old person.
postural orthostatic tachycardia. So I got shingles.
You did shingles?
I got
8 years
shingles
old?
when I was 29. Yep, and it caused permanent damage to my autonomic system. So my body does not regulate blood pressure and heart rate very well, and it does not regulate temperature at all.
Jim Black.
My grandfather got shingles at an elderly age and lost an eye.
Oh yeah, it's not that I've seen. It's not that uncommon for it to be on the side of the face.
Well,
Get sick of
I
seeing.
don't get sick of seeing. I wanted to tell you though that I have an announcement to make about the collection for the 25th for our last quarter. And I kind of like to do it from up here.
Sure, sure. When we do announcements, then I'll just, in fact, I'll just have you come right on.
Okay.
And then any other.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Hello,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Hello. Who is that? Oh, hi. I was approved by the for this for people to access. I know that there's some. I just want to make sure, because that was a talk between Jim and I, and so then he sent it to the board. And I said that it should be fine. I just wanted to make sure that it was still okay. I did it for most of the summer. Last week I did a virtual one, so some of them are still Zoom. Obviously, last week was actually one. But no, I enjoy it because it's a good excuse to go travel to Mexico. coming here last November. I was coming here, my partner, my children. So, it's usually, yeah, I like it. I mean, I don't do it every Sunday, every month. We drive. It's not that bad. It was like 3.5 hours. Oh, Claire.
My husband hurt his
Oh, nice. I work at State right now. I just started earlier this month. Yeah, my partner lives in Menominee. I love it. I love UW Stout, but it's on hills, which does not work when you're using a wheelchair.
That's true.
I use a wheelchair a lot of the time because I'm in.
Hello, Ken.
And also trying to delay my double hip replacement that I'll need in 8 to 10 years. So I'm trying to push it out, but it's like I'm definitely starting to get my arm. It's like you don't think this is a slope, but it's a slope. Like everything, I don't think there's even a singular like flat sidewalk at Stout. It's always like first a little bit. I'm like, I am really using my left arm more than my right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We haven't been back in years. So, but I worked at so it was just
So nice. I find it to be very good. I did there a year and a half ago from lacrosse. So I really like here. There's much for the dudes and everything. Lacrosse is, it can't really expand the population fast growing, but it can because you've got the Mississippi, you've got Hawks, and then you have other towns on either side. So then it's got 3 colleges, and so it's just, it's so chaotic and stuff gets like trashed and destroyed, you know, during October Fest or anytime, you know, there's an extra excuse. So it's, yeah, but I love all that. I think it's super busy. I'm enjoying. There's a lot to do. I also like that there's highways. There's so many like highways or just roads that have a higher speed limit, so it's really quick to get across town, whereas the cross is much slower. So and there's not really a road to go.
well, and clear. You're really close to the city. And it is
She's on. On 94, which is across, you have to take 90 and then it's 50. Well, I just completed my master's in divinity. I'm set to start this spring. I was supposed to start this fall, but I'm trying to schedule out to see if I work on my medical issues. So I wanted to be able to do So we have your year round. But I like that. Every, I've never been to one, like, two I've been to some where they don't have a piano there, music therapy. Yeah. No, doesn't guitar, and it's really interesting. Well, I like to attend on Saturday and play a song on a guitar. They build their own building, you have some that are, I didn't know some that are, more buildings that used to be a bank. So it's just really interesting to Sometimes I can tell. I love that. Yeah. That's a good song. And we'll either take a Carrie, that's you always have a different Carrie, yeah, that's population. Claire is a family based, they started from Canada. Right. Yeah, because we're. Oh,
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Door County. The opening and welcoming words are written by Sharon Wiley, entitled Wholeness. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life, let us today speak of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you, every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here, nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or to the children or to anyone. You don't have to try to be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful just the way they are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us worship together. And once again, welcome to all who are here and for those who may be watching at home. Our service is recorded live. And as you may have noted, I am not Jim Black, nor am I Bruce Nelson. Jim, unfortunately, is not feeling well, so I, Carrie Link, am filling in for Jim, while Bruce Nelson is filling in for me as recorder. It takes a village, or in this case, a flexible congregation. It is our practice here at UUFDC to welcome any visitors or anyone who has not been here for a while, and to stand and introduce yourselves, tell us where you're from and what brought you here this morning. It's not mandatory, it's just so that we can welcome you more fully. So do we have visitors? Yes, please stand.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Bob Albrecht. This is my partner Adam Tomei, and
Hello.
we are visiting from Minneapolis.
Ah,
I'm a longtime member of Unity Church Unitarian in St. Paul, which is a remarkably beautiful place. If ever you're visiting the area, please stop and see us there.
yes, thank you. Thanks for being here.
I'm Judy Corbay. I'm from Second Unitarian in Chicago. You may have seen us on the news recently, but I've actually been coming up here so long that I remember when you had services at SCAN.
Oh.
But it's only usually once a year. I did not come last year, so it's very nice to be back today.
Yes, and it's nice you're here.
I'm Judy's friend Laura Mangello. We're also from Second Unitarian. I haven't been coming anywhere near as often with Judy, but I do enjoy coming when we occasionally come together.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm Maria Markowitz. We're from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Park Forest, Illinois. We live in Tinley Park, and we're here just traveling to the area up to Fisher Rock.
Great, well, thank you. Thanks for being here. Just a few housekeeping items. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off so that we can enjoy this morning's service. And since Door County is still listed as high for COVID, there will not be a coffee break, but our speaker, Pei, is going to be here for a talk back. So there will be time for a quick break right after the postlude, and then the chimes will sound and the talk back will be in this room over here. The announcements specific to UUFDC are on the back of the order, but there may be other announcements. And I know that Vicki Ash has an announcement that she would like to make up here.
Thank you, Carrie. You're beautiful. Thank you. Okay. I was going to announce about the special celebration 25th anniversary service on September 11th, but it was so beautifully covered by Sarah, our parish administrator, with the pink flyer in your leaflet. I hope you'll take a look at that. We are anticipating a wonderful event. The second announcement I have to make is a little more difficult because it's not about a happy situation. It's about the vacuum that we live in here in Door County, and that is squeezing us, whether we realize it or not, more every day. And that is the vacuum of appropriate housing for people who work for us here in Door County. And the offering that we are putting together in this final quarter of our celebratory year is going to the Door County Housing Partnership. And I have had a hard time, even though I'm on the committee, of getting my arms around this particular need in our county. And then my husband came home the other day and said, boy, the dentist was just so frustrated. And I said, well, what's going on? And he said, he cannot get the level of help that he needs in the dental office because there is nowhere for these folks to come up here and live. So they either have to commute from Sturgeon Bay or they have to commute from further than that. There is no affordable housing for people in Door County. So there are various things that are trying to be done about that situation. We all know how easy it is to access things on Amazon and other places that will ship them to you. We know how easy it is to get on the internet and get a library of information. But the one thing we can't get easily up here is the people that we need to serve our needs and the needs of our visitors here in Door County. So this initiative is attempting to fill a small part of that need, which is affordable housing for families, making it in perpetuity so that once the house is within the framework of the partnership, it stays in that framework. The current owner can get equity once they move out of that home, but the home stays in the partnership. I think that's about the best way I have to explain it because it was explained more eloquently by a member of that group when we started this initiative. But as I said, I still have trouble getting my arms around it. So we are at $3,000. As most of you know who are members, each quarter we've been able to raise $5,000 and then had a match from the board of $2,500, bringing our donations each quarter to the other initiatives that we sought to support to $7,500. And we are really hoping to do that again this quarter. So if you haven't given, if you're thinking about it, if you need more information, this will be out in the lobby. There's good information on the internet. You can go out and look up Door County Housing Partnership and read all about it. So again, I'm asking you to give to this quarter's initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Yes, Peggy. I would like to refer everyone on this subject to last week's Pulse and the very good article that Mariah Good, yay, wrote explaining this. This partnership is going to be in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity. One of the problems Habitat has had is that several of their homes have been sold for profit. That will not happen with our housing partnership. But it is expected that we'll need to raise $100,000 for each house that is built to be able to build it. So the funds are really needed, and we're all going to need we already need this kind of help. And it will be wonderful if we can house more people who have jobs, who have, a very good lifestyle, but they do not have enough money to buy a house.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with an announcement?
I just wanted to remind everybody about Colin Wolford's concert this afternoon at 2:00 at the Ephraim Moravian Church. Colin will be playing the organ, and he has a flautist and a male singer. And I understand it's going to be quite an exciting concert. $22 at the door.
Okay, thank you. Our speaker this morning is Pay Carter. There is a lot about pay on the cover of your order of service, so I can't really add to that wealth of information other than their speaking schedule is quite extensive. So we are fortunate to have Pay here this morning. Thank you, Pay, for being in Door County. And I'd like to give credit where credit is due, and that's Pay selected all of this morning's readings. So we will now open this morning's service with these words by Mike Johnson. It is always good to give thanks. All that we have is a gift from life, our food, our relationships, our shelter from the cold. And when we give thanks, it is always good to be mindful of all people and notice those who are suffering and do what we can to ease suffering and change its cause. Today, we give thanks and we explore suffering. We must always do both together so that our hearts are strong for the journey. I will now light the chalice. Please rise as you are able in body or spirit for the unison affirmation, followed by humming with heart the doxology. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, and to celebrate with their community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. Please be seated. This is a time for an opportunity to share a happiness and or sadness that you have experienced. And please remember that our service is live. And if you are mentioning a person, please make sure you have their permission to share that information. And Terry will bring the microphone to you. Are there any joys and concerns?
My joy, as always, is music, and I just went to the most wonderful midsummer music concert last night, which will be repeated several times. And I have board comp tickets if anybody would like to go to Woodwalk tonight at 5:00 to hear this incredible concert. I can tell you more about it if you come see me after the service.
Thank you.
Hi, Lynn Lees. Have to brag about my granddaughters again. Una, the youngest, got back Thursday from leading teenage girls backpacking on Isle Royal. And yesterday afternoon, she flew to Budapest for her junior year first semester at DePaul. So, yay, Una.
Wow. That's amazing.
I just wanted to share the joy that my spouse at 57 years will be celebrating a big birthday next weekend.
Ah.
We won't be here that, we'll be with family, but it will be a wonderful celebration.
Yes, it will. Yeah.
I don't know if this is joy or concern, but my spouse and I will be celebrating this week our 61st anniversary. Amazing that she stayed with me all those years.
Congratulations.
I'm going to share with you a concern. We are from Second Unitarian, and ever since Roe v. Wade, we have had a sign in our announcement board on the front stating that we supported abortion without concern, And on Wednesday, the sign was vandalized and one of our glass windows was broken. Interestingly enough, it was done by two women walking down the street, picking up some fairly large rocks and tossing them at our building. So it's an interesting time, needless to say. There was a fair amount of concern about today's service back home in Chicago. We expected that we might have a fair number of visitors who come to church because we were on the news, needless to say. But there was also a concern that we could possibly attract some troublemakers. So I'm curious to see how our service has gone this morning back in Chicago.
I hope you find things peaceful, more peaceful. Okay, that's it. We will now.
Is the offertory first?
Do you want to do yours?
I think we did the offertory first.
Okay. We will now have this morning's offering. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. You may also access our website, which allows you to donate very safely.
So we're going to be doing a responsive reading. So you'll see in your order of service on one side of the pink insert, you'll see the responsive reading. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Worth takes endless forms as we find more expressions of our worth
We believe in justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
If we let rationalizations replace justice, resignation replace equity, or pity replace compassion, our human relations are diminished.
We believe in acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation.
How do I hold acceptance? Do my fears stunt our congregation's growth? When next I hesitate, and I extend my hands instead.
We believe in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
How much more will we learn if we share our search with travelers who set a different pace, see from a different perspective, or understand with a different wisdom?
We believe in the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within the congregation and in society at large.
For all to have a voice, we need many ways of expression, and we need many ways to listen.
We believe in the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Just as peace means no violence, and liberty means no oppression, and justice means no prejudice, all means no exceptions.
And we believe in respect for the independence web of all existence of which we are part.
We gain strength from the support of others, and we grow stronger as we support others. Together we can weave our values into an ever stronger web of existence.
We will now have a moment of silence in which may each one of our thoughts bring peace to the world.
Hello and good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I want to start off by saying thank you for having me again. I was here last November. The weather was quite different than it is right now, so I got to enjoy Door County in a very different way than I did last year. When I started preaching 5 years ago, I remember I would type everything out. It'd be like 8 to 10 pages, and I would rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and then I would find by the time the service came, I had a whole other perspective than what I wanted to say. And then it just got to the point where I just started preaching from the heart, because I really believe when it comes to social justice issues, that's what we need to do, is to share lived experiences and talk from the heart. So I hope today that my message will provide a wide range of emotions for you and give you lots to think about after I leave. So I am a person with multiple disabilities. It's something that you wouldn't know just by looking at me. I have PTSD. I have a 100% rating with the VA due to military sexual trauma. I have Ehlers-Danlos, which is a tissue connectivity disorder. Basically, I have faulty collagen in all of my body. All my joints are hypermobile. I've had both my feet permanently fused, and I'm currently looking at a double hip replacement in 8 to 10 years. I often use a wheelchair to get around because I have so much pain, and to try to push that hip replacement back as far as I can. 7 years ago, I got shingles, and it caused permanent damage to my autonomic system. So that is the system of your body that regulates all the things you don't have to think about. So my body literally does not regulate temperature, so I don't sweat. My body doesn't do what it's supposed to when I am too cold. And it also struggles to regulate heart rate and blood pressure when I change positions. So getting up out of bed in the morning, standing up, walking too long, bending down, crouching down and getting back up. So I have a lot of physical disabilities that are invisible, and they confuse a lot of people when they see me, for example, parking in disability spots, or being an ambulatory wheelchair user, or I have a walker with a seat that I use for if I get dizzy. I don't want to just drop to the floor, right? So I don't use my walker to aid me in walking. I use it in case I get dizzy and I need to sit down. So there's a lot of mobility devices that I use that people don't expect. And of course, that comes with interactions with others. I remember one time using my walker and I was at a rock and gem show with my kids, and I was turned looking at a table, and when I came back, there was garbage in the basket of my walker. I've had people approach me because I park in a disabled spot, and they don't think that I'm disabled. They think that I'm borrowing my grandma or grandparents' car so I can just park closer to the store out of convenience. So I'm constantly reminded, not only internally, right, by my body's limitations, but by other people that I am disabled. And what I want to share with you is some very, I don't know if I want to say extremes, but some severe experiences of ableism that I had going from about April to June. And I want to share this because I also identify as part of the LGBTQ community. So I have those dual identities. And as everybody knows, June is Pride Month, right? So you see everything going on. And then a lot of people don't know that July is Disability Pride Month. So I want to share my experiences, like I said, to give you a different perspective and an understanding. And I'm hoping that this message today will help you be inspired to be, if you are an able-bodied person, to, or even part of the disabled community, to rally together and really, really advocate for people with disabilities. So as some of you may know from when I came, I was a ministerial candidate. I had done my ministerial internship at UW, at the UU in Eau Claire. I just graduated in June with my Master's of Divinity. And when I was getting closer to graduation, I was preparing for a meeting with the committee, as well as needing to do the final step to be a minister, which is a unit of pastoral education. But I was having trouble finding a site that would accommodate my needs. Most of them are at hospitals, and they wanted somebody that could work 12 to 18 hours a day. And in my opinion, nobody in the medical field should really be working 12 to 18-hour shifts, period. But as a disabled person, that's just really not possible, especially a job that requires you to be on your feet, to be going to hospital rooms. Or they wanted somebody that would also rotate on-call shifts or overnight shifts, which I actually have a family history of seizures. When I got out of the military with my PTSD, I struggled to sleep at night, so I thought that I would work overnight shifts, and it actually triggered seizures. So I got off third shift, got on a low dose of medication, and haven't had any seizures since. But I have to stick to a regular sleep cycle. So I can't do on-call shifts, right? I can't do overnights. So I was having trouble finding a site that would accommodate that. Sometimes you can do clinical pastoral education at more of a social justice one. So like at a homeless shelter, things like that. But as soon as they saw the Master of Divinity and knew it was for a pastoral education unit, people didn't want anything to do with it because they thought that it was going to be very religious. And it didn't matter how much I explained to you or that I myself was an atheist. It was hard to move past that. And so what I did, and this is going to shock quite a few of you, is I reached out to our credentialing body, right, the Ministerial Formation Committee, and said, hey, this is my last step before I meet with you. I'm having trouble finding a site that will accommodate my disabilities. Can you help? And here I was expecting a conversation, right? I was expecting a discussion. Instead, The response was, "We are sorry you are having trouble finding a site that will accommodate your needs. Good luck on whatever path you find yourself on. Sorry the credentialing process didn't work out." I'll let that sit for a minute. So then I responded and I said, "I am really disheartened by this," right? Because social justice is our foundation, right? It's one of our biggest foundations, the biggest thing that we do. And I said, "I thought there would be some problem solving, some help. I find this very ableist and the language very ableist." And the response was, "You're right. Thank you for your feedback. We have a lot to dismantle in our faith regarding ableism. Good luck." So here I am in, I think, the middle of the end of April, just a month and a half from graduating, and all of my plans, everything that I had been working towards, out the window. And working towards the credentialing process was very hard as a disabled person. I lived in La Crosse at the time and I commuted to Eau Claire. I did a part-time ministerial internship for 2 years. So that's an hour and 45-minute drive one way. While in seminary, I did more than full-time every quarter because internalizing my ableism, I thought that I had to prove that I was especially worthy. So 8 credits is considered full-time and I did 12 to 16 every quarter. So I somehow managed to maintain a decent GPA. And then I had spoken in my first year of seminary, I was able to speak at Mid-America Regional Assembly, and then the following year at General Assembly. So I hadn't even graduated, was barely into my ministerial internship before I had these opportunities. And of course, as mentioned in the order of service, I've preached at over 35 congregations. So I really thought there would be some sort of discussion, help problem solving, but there wasn't. So here I am. Do I want to even graduate? Like, what do I do with this degree? A Master of Divinity, what do you really do with that outside of being a minister? And it grew closer, and I had family and I had friends say, like, "Look, you've really been working towards this. This is a big deal. You need to finish out and you should graduate." And I said, "Okay." My partner and I, every quarter you have to go for intensive. So we had gone in April. My body's ability to regulate heart rate and blood pressure is exasperated by the altitude. So I was very sick. I told the people running graduation that the only way I can go to graduation, the only way, is if I use my wheelchair and it's accessible. And it was sworn up and down that it would be accessible. Here's some responses already. So this is my journey towards graduation. Now they said, like, we'll even give you a travel stipend. It'll cover the cost for accessible. Come out. It'll be great. So my first experience is I land in Denver and I go to wait for the shuttle, right, to take me to the car rental place because I can drive. And the person comes in the shuttle and stood there and wanted to argue with me for 10 minutes on whether or not my wheelchair would fit in the back of the shuttle. Now, keep in mind, my wheelchair is very compact. It is built to me, so it is probably not that much wider than this podium. It is not like a hospital wheelchair that you see. And I knew it was going to fit, but he wanted to argue. I had to lift it in there. He would not put it in unless I put it in myself. So I was already in pain. I was not happy. Then I get to graduation, the rehearsal, and it was filled with so much ableism that it was really hard on my heart, because I had expected my seminary, when they said that it was accessible, that it would be, but accessible to them meant door openers and a rail. Now, this is a Methodist church, a very large Methodist church. So they had a gigantic floor space in front of the rows of seats, and then the stage. And there was a floor mic. And for every little section, I had to say, can we move this floor mic a foot over? So a foot over in this big space. And they just kept moving it back. They'd say, yep, sure, for this one, but then we're going to move it back. Then it came to going up, and practice going on the stage and getting your degree. And the way that they had people positioned, I was almost going off of the stairs. Like there there was barely any room. And they had these big drapes hanging down from the ceiling that were taped to the floor. And to go by it, I had to run over, like say this is taped, I had to go over a raised area. And every time I said, hey, can we just move this? Can we move this 6 inches? Can we move this a foot? I was treated like I was trying to disrupt the whole ceremony, that I was trying to be a big pain and I wanted it to go how I wanted it to go. And by the end of it, I was in tears. And of course, I'm also internalizing it because as disabled people, we tend to do that. I was saying, well, maybe I am just being too emotional. Maybe I am being a pain in the bottom. Maybe, like I just am trying somehow being a pain. But I had students come up to me, some of them in tears, saying that they were really upset by the ableism and what was going on. So it was very validating for me. And I sent an email to the dean and the person running it, and they said, oh my gosh, we didn't know. Tomorrow we will make it accessible. So this time I'm like, I'm not even gonna get my wheelchair out of the car because I have a feeling. Now the church did have a walker with a seat, which was great, but it was still hard to access things I couldn't get around. Very easily, I ended up just leaving it at the ramp and my dizzy self wandering around, getting it and going back and sitting down. But it was done, right? I graduated, so it's great, right? On some level, I'm really celebrating. Then on the way back, the airline damaged my wheelchair. And when I went down to the baggage claim, I'm waiting because it's late at night. So I had to actually walk my damaged wheelchair down there. And a baggage claim person stumbled in and opened the door and was trying to reach a supervisor on a walkie. And I am listening to this supervisor, not caring and not wanting to come down, despite her saying, I have a person, we broke her wheelchair, they're in pain. And he just kept dismissing it. When he finally did come down, he wanted to claim that my wheelchair was still operational. So part of it was they made my compact wheelchair even more compact. I didn't think that was possible, but it is. Saw that lever for my brake that was bent all the way in and cranked it all the way back, further damaging my wheelchair. I did fill out a claim. He never sent that in. So I was wondering why I wasn't hearing from the airline, had to actually file a claim with the Department of Transportation, to which they got fined. Then they got a hold of me and got my wheelchair fixed. So this is from about mid to the end of April to the beginning of June that all of this happened. So very, for me, very more beyond the daily ableism that I encountered. But then it was Pride Month, right? And you have all these people celebrating. You have the parades. You have, well, we'll put aside the capitalism of companies changing Legos and making merch. But you have everywhere you look, right? There's rainbows. You have parades everywhere. There's companies highlighting how they support LGBTQIA+ people and trans people. And it's great. It's like a month of celebration. Then you get to Disability Pride Month. And you don't have allies sharing posts. You don't have companies changing logos. You don't have companies making merch. You don't have companies saying how they support disabled people. And it was a month-long reminder and a burden on how disabled people have to build every single door that we want to try to go through to have society tear it down. We have to advocate for ourselves in ways that other people don't have to. And so as a queer and disabled person, I was very torn. It was very hard to go to 1 month where I felt celebrated, where I felt safe, where I felt that I could talk and reach out to people that were like me, to then have crickets, to not have that support. Now I want to point out, I don't want to go over, I could talk about this all day. As a faith, we, just like our responsive reading, right? Everybody has inherent worth and dignity, and we are social justice based. But I find what we tend to do is we tend to address social justice issues separately,
right? We have our welcoming committee, the certification that people can go, congregations can go through to say we are welcoming and supportive to LGBTQI plus people. We have our Black Lives Matter as well, initiative as well. But the thing is, by not addressing disability, we're also not properly addressing those communities as well, because there's intersectionality. I am not the only person who identifies as queer as disabled, right? But we're only celebrating, we're only doing advocacy work on one group. We're dismissing the people that belong to both. So when we try to do, I want you to keep that in mind, when you are doing, say, LGBTQI plus advocacy work and support as allies, to also realize that there are queer people that are disabled. Or when we are supporting racial issues, there's people that are of different races that are also disabled, and they have unique stories and issues that we need to be aware of. Now, I'm no longer pursuing ordination, as you can imagine. But I still feel you, and I enjoy coming and finding a community in congregations like this. And I appreciate you being open to my message and what I've had to say. I hope that it has inspired you to stop and think about the way you do advocacy work, how people that are different from you experience the world very differently. I'll point out a few things quick before I go. So this is my first, if you notice on the front when it comes to my bio that I work at UW Stout. I just started working there. It's my first job externally in over a decade, because I have struggled to not only find a job that can accommodate or that I can actually do because of my disabilities, but then a lot of jobs, even if I find, all right, I could do this, have a probationary period where you can't accrue sick leave, or you can, but you can't use it. And that's very difficult. That makes jobs not accessible for people with disabilities, because believe it or not, I have 1 to 5 appointments every week to try to manage my care. And this is my first month there, and they've been wonderful and so receptive. I'm very lucky, but I internalize a lot because I am the one saying, hey, all of these sidewalks are uneven, or hey, everybody needs to be using a microphone when we have big group orientations, or hey, there's neurodivergent people that can't handle spitting out information all the time, right? Or they need that information, some of it in advance to process it. And they've been amazing, so amazing. But the internalization that I have as a disabled person, right, when society tells us that we're not worthy, or we are a problem, we're a pain, it's very difficult and it's hard. So if somebody says to you, maybe that language is a little bit ableist, don't take that in offense. We all accidentally use language that we don't realize hurts other people. So like I said, I really hope that this brings some thoughts for you. And like I said, I'm a very open book about all of my medical issues and the advocacy work that I do. And if you need advice on certain things, you're more than welcome to contact me after the service. And I'm going to stop talking now because I could talk forever and we still have other parts of the service to do. So again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here, and I see lots of familiar faces, which is really nice.
The closing reading is authored by Andrea Hawkins Camper, entitled Be About the Work. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. For if not us, who? If not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now, to be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and people of conscience.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we take about 5 or 10 minutes at the most and then come back to this area for the talk back? If you need a drink of water or bathroom or whatever.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the service today. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.